Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow here. Today is going to be another installment of the numerous installments in 101 reasons why the media keeps lying to you and why you should deem them the enemy like I do.
And this is disgusting. The president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who's thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge. The Doge cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer.
You know these people are all lying, right? I mean, provably. You don't have to take my word for it. I mean, I'll show you the sources where you can prove yourself that they're lying to you. This all centered around DJ Daniel, the young man, the 13-year-old who had survived brain cancer, who was with his dad at the State of the Union address last night. I'm not sure if you saw the video that played earlier yesterday prior to the State of the Union address regarding DJ. I want to play that for you real quick so you know a little bit more about DJ.
You know the craziest part? Because my mom bathes me and my brothers all together. And out of nowhere, I locked up. And then my dad was calling my name. And I started going to the slow thing. And he said, stop playing with me. And I started to act, I ain't gonna lie, I started to act slow. And then as soon as he said that, we was speeding all the way, running lights, going to the hospital. And then next thing you know, I was seizing on the table. They said, nah, we gonna have to go in his brain tonight. Ever since then, I had 13 brain surgeries, and that's how many times my personality has changed. And that's something that you don't hear from a terminally ill child. They had 5 months to live. I'm gonna keep on going until my gas tanks run out. And that's when God calls you home. You never know when God's gonna call you home. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my dad. I know he's pretty proud of me, and I'm pretty proud of him too.
That little dude right there, man. And I'm going to show you the video from last night, but even that right there, 13-year-old, very well-spoken 13-year-old who's had that many brain surgeries. And he speaks like a young adult. I'm talking about in terms of the depth of what he's saying, not the cadence of his voice and how he speaks, but the wisdom that he carries with him. You can tell this kid has done some inner soul searching, and I guess so when you are told you have 5 months to live, terminally ill. Man, as a father who has undying absolute love for his own child, meaning me, and many of you out there I know feel the same way, you can only imagine what the parents feel in this case, having your little one that hasn't even finished growing yet, like this young man hasn't, and then being dealt that kind of a blow. I've said it before. All of our crosses to bear are different. Not one is worse or better than the other. I don't know that I ever want to be in this position of the parents of young DJ here. But Donald Trump drew attention to this young man during the State of the Union last night, and I want to show you the full exchange of what took place there. And I got to warn you, if you didn't see it already, it'll tug at your heartstrings. There is a genuine display of pure pride and emotion from DJ and his dad. Watch his dad's face during a lot of this too. I know I found myself being drawn into little DJ there because it's just it's an act of emotion, and again, the pride and everything that you're tapping into, you're really focused on DJ. Watch his dad's face. You'll see the pride of a father right there that's glad that he has his little man with him still. Watch this thing all the way through, and you tell me that this is not a poignant moment from the president, but also from DJ and his dad.
Joining us at the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer, the doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. Thank you, DJ.
The unsolicited hug is what did me in as a dad last night. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I watched this, I watched everything. The wide eyes whenever Trump started to announce. You could tell DJ had no clue. This was a kid wondering, what's going on here? And then when the Secret Service head of Secret Service went up to him and gave him his ID, you could just see the small little conversation between DJ where he was apparently asking questions. You know, I have to guess here. He's probably asking him, hey, what do I wear? Do I get a badge with this? I mean, he's probably legitimately asking some questions. And then the unsolicited hug, that was like, wow, heavy moment right there, heavy moment. But it didn't take the Democrats long to ruin that moment. Not only did those Democrats in the room not stand up during any of the other heart-tugging moments that, let's face it, all sides do. The Democrats do it. The Republicans do it. They all do it. And I can appreciate whenever even some scumbag like Joe Biden does it, I can still appreciate the heartfelt moment. But these Democrats in the room could not bring themselves to appreciate DJ's situation, the father, or any of these other ones that were in the room last night that Donald Trump was drawing attention to, who had suffered some kind of a traumatic event like losing children to illegal aliens. But it's not just the Democrats, it's the media too. And I say this all the time. I wear it as a badge of honor. I feel like one of my callings is to call out the crooked, corrupt media, the way they try to push and drive this communist effort of theirs down your throat. I don't think it really matters to them what party it is. They have an agenda. They simply have an agenda. Now they're all up George W.'s butt. They're all friends with George W. So I don't think the party name is necessarily what they're looking at. It's the agenda that they drive. I want to play for you, again, the Randy Maddow segment where the lesbian talks about this young man and gives you false information regarding Trump and Elon. And then I'm going to let you continue to watch this clip so you can see Nicole Wallace's horrible, disgusting comments about DJ.
And this is disgusting. The president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who's thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge.
I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives a and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
When she threw the but in there, said all these nice things about DJ, but then said but, that's the same way the person says I'm a Second Amendment advocate, but anything after that discredits everything before that. She goes on to say that she hopes DJ never has to defend Donald Trump or the Capitol in the event Donald Trump's supporters storm it again. She even goes on to say that she hopes that he doesn't take his own life like the 6 did after January 6th. I'm going to say this as a quick side note. Maybe, just maybe, the ones who took their lives couldn't bear to be a part of what they knew was a Fed-induced, corrupt insurrection, quote unquote, because it was not an organic event. It was organic up until the feds, don't know what organization, have a pretty good idea. FBI was definitely involved. Kash Patel, talking to you, bud. But this was twisted and turned on its head during the event by the feds. And these people right here are either in on it or they don't care about any true facts. Because I have a real hard time feeling sorry, and I'm sorry, this might piss some people off out there. Let me rephrase. I'm not going to say I have a hard time feeling sorry. I don't feel sorry for the 6 who took their life if it was as a result of what they experienced during the insurrection. Don't feel sorry for you. If you did it because you couldn't live with yourself for what you witnessed and you knew you were a part of, then my heart goes out to you, because I guess that was the only way you felt like you could cope with this. But if you were part of this and you were sad because you had PTSD because of what you had to witness, zero feelings for you right here. Don't care what his family thinks of me. Do not care. If you're a subscriber and you're a family member and you leave, bye. Bye. I wasn't intending to appeal to you anyway, so leave, please. But I want to point out the lies. I say this all the time. And again, both sides are guilty of this. This is not a strictly Democrat thing, but it's definitely a very strictly media thing. They take a smidgen of the truth and they put it in a glass of swamp water, sewage water, and watch it grow roots and tentacles. And they build a different story out of that piece of truth that they have. Let me explain. If you go to the Pediatric Cancer Research Site, which this is the organization that Randy Maddow was saying that we had defunded, meaning Donald Trump had defunded, she simply stated that Donald Trump had done that.
DOJ cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer.
Yeah, whatever, Randy. So I went to the Pediatric Cancer Research's own website, and look what I found. A devastating setback. Funding for childhood cancer research cut from U.S. spending bill. Well, let me point something out to you real quick. By Bill Thomas, January 2nd. Okay, first of all, there hasn't been a January 2nd in Trump's new term where he was president. So if this was January 2nd of 2025, guess who was president? But to show you that the Pediatric Cancer Research Center is in on the lie also, I wanted to show you this real quick. The box at the upper right-hand corner with the date of December 31st, 2024 that says funding for childhood cancer research cut from U.S. spending, that is the link under Google that takes you to this main page that I have here that has January 2nd on there. Because they realize how stupid Democrats are, they went in and apparently changed the date on the actual story to say January 2nd, knowing that at some point Democrats would read this, and as long as there wasn't a year in there that sold them out and told the truth, they knew that some of these stupid Democrats would attribute this story to Donald Trump being in office on January 2nd. But they forgot to change the date on the Google link that takes you to this story, because it shows December 31st, 2024. Again, who was president? Not Donald Trump. At least the DNC was honest about their dates when they put the same lie up saying that Trump and MAGA Republicans cut pediatric cancer research and blocked consumer protections while pushing tax handouts for the wealthy. Guys, y'all do realize that on December 20th, your boy Joe Biden was still president, right? Y'all do realize that Trump was literally exactly 1 month away from taking office when this story came out saying that Trump cut pediatric cancer research and blocked consumer protections. This means that these cuts took place before Donald Trump and Doge even came into office. These cuts took place under the Biden administration. Trump had nothing to do with those cuts. Nothing. Again, he was not in office. These people are liars. But make no mistake, Trump and Doge are definitely making some cuts right now. There's a lot of corruption going on that they're taking care of, and they've made it very clear. Anything that's going directly to any real proper research, legitimate research, instead of funding hair lip sloths in Somalia to learn how to square dance to hip hop music and teach them the transgender studies. Yeah, those are all going to be defunded. If you can't explain where this funding is going to, that funding has to be explained. And the Trump administration, along with Elon Musk, have made it very clear that if you can explain away where this money is going and show that it's going to a legitimate cause like cancer research for pediatric studies, then your funding won't be cut. They've made that very clear. Again, this is separate from Biden making those same cuts back during the Biden administration. I almost said the old Biden administration or Obama administration. What's the difference? But I found this Committee on Oversight published on May 28, 2024, not even a year ago. Wall Street Journal opinion. Evidence revealed by COVID Select Subcommittee shows corruption at highest levels of NIH. Oh no, it can't be. There's no way the NIH, they're in it for all of us. They're in it for the good of the people. There's no way there would be corruption. Look down here. The committee earlier found that the NIH and EcoHealth failed to monitor properly the Wuhan experiments. Now, this is after they've already discussed all kinds of other corruption in the NIH. But I have a point to the leaders of NIH, to the Pediatric Cancer Center, to Randy Maddow, all these people who are lying. 100% of funding hasn't been cut from the NIH. They're still doing funding on gain of function. They're still doing funding. You see it all the time on I saw the other day a new bat coronavirus strain has come out as if that lie didn't fall on its face before. So I have a question. If you're at the NIH and you are looking over your budget and you're prioritizing it and you're going, okay, so they cut some funding. I have this many billions of dollars left. So should we fund square dancing sloths with a hair lip in Somalia? Pediatric cancer research. Ooh, that's a tough one. No, send the money to the hair lip sloths square dancing in Somalia. We feel like that's a little bit more important than cancer research at the pediatric center. Do you see what I mean? These people actually have a choice. Whenever they have some of their funding for the corruption that gets cut, all of it's not being cut because they haven't found it all yet. It sounds like they're making choices not to fund the things that really matter, the different types of projects that actually matter. Now, I'm going to go back to another thing. We're spending all this money on pediatric cancer research. How many gains have they made? I'm not saying to stop it. What I'm asking you is, we've paid a lot of money. What are you doing with the money? I have to believe you guys have given up on any real hope for a cure for any kind of cancer. So you're probably rifling that money into other people's pockets because I think you've given up on it. You've made no grounds. What have you done? I remember whenever AIDS and HIV came out, they made strides in that. Magic Johnson is proof of that. they've made no strides in cancer research. Now, I think we all kind of know the reason. Big Pharma's over there watching and listening, so I'm not going to say too much. But they're not curing anything. They haven't made any gains as far as pediatric cancer or any other types of cancer. The only gains that they might have come up with, a new drug to treat cancer with. But it ain't curing it. It's just another thing to pump into somebody's body that somebody's going to make a lot of money off of. So I already question where the money's going, because I do believe they know they can't cure cancer, but they still keep taking in these billions of dollars to research it. Need more proof? The Hill put out an article just last year by Senator Rand Paul. How the National Institute of Health became a den of cronyism. He states for too long the bureaucrats at the National Institute of Health have been lining their pockets through clandestine agreements with big corporations, that means Big Pharma, getting cozy with the very entities they are tasked with overseeing. In an era where trust in our public institution is alarmingly low because they've been lying to us, this isn't just a minor oversight, it's an outright epidemic of corruption. Shockingly, over 55,000 royalty payments have been overlooked in the past decade alone. This is inside the NIH, folks. Each undisclosed royalty payment is a potential conflict of interest. The article goes on to state it was uncovered that more than 2,400 NIH scientists pocketed a whopping $325 million in royalty payments in the last decade. Illegal royalty payments. Get this, Moderna's royalty payments to the NIH, Dartmouth, and Scripps universities in the amount of $400 million will make it challenging, boy, that's an understatement, for NIH scientists to treat Moderna objectively. Below that, the NIH's potential profit from future royalties on Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine is the icing on this conflict of interest cake, raising grave concerns about the integrity of our regulatory processes. This is not merely about financial transparency. It is about ensuring public health decisions are made in the American people's best interest, untainted by the prospect of financial gain. So they know that money is corrupting the NIH. They haven't even gotten to the point where Doge and Elon are going to find all the corruption, where all these payments are going to the second and third party NGOs out there. But there's more. Biden's own U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General put this out in June, last summer of 2024. NIH did not close contracts in accordance with federal requirements, resulting in the increased risk of fraud, waste, and abuse. Those are not my words. Those are not Trump's words. Those are not Elon's words. Those are the words of the Biden administration's U.S. Department of Health and Human Services as it relates to the NIH. They go on to state during their explanation of the mismanagement that for the remaining 29 contracts totaling more than $1.9 billion, NIH did not meet one or more administrative closeout requirements. Now, these closeout requirements are a lot of different things that you do whenever you are finishing up a contract. First of all, you've already heard Doge talk about, and Trump, about how a lot of these contracts aren't even closed, that they're open-ended. In other words, they had a closed date for the contract in the scope of the work, but the contracts were never closed. The payments just continued. That's a bit of an oversight. Somebody is overseeing those contracts. In fact, it's usually a specific person responsible for each individual contract. So somebody's name is tied to not closing out these contracts properly and allowing the payments to continue. But there's also some stuff that you can hide and cover up when you don't close the contract, even if the payments have already taken place, like audits. You have to audit these contracts. These contracts are required to be audited by the federal government for many reasons. The main reasons is to root out what they are talking about in the title of this very report, the corruption and the waste and the fraud. You have to make sure the money went where it was supposed to, paid for what it was supposed to, and that the wrong people didn't receive payment or some kind of, let's just say, payment on the side. The Office of Inspector General recommends that the NIH does this: complete the administrative closeout requirements for the 29 contracts totaling more than $1 billion. So there's incorrect things, and you know what it is. They haven't audited these 29 contracts worth $1.9 billion. This next one down here, the prevention of contract records from being destroyed before contract closeout has occurred. What? They wouldn't put that in there had they not found contract records being destroyed before the contract closeout has occurred. Look at the sentence right before that. They also mention the preservation of all contract file records when employees depart the agency. That's another red flag that coincides with the prevention of contract records being destroyed before contract closeout has occurred. People are receiving payments within the organization, they're getting paid for it, and nobody is catching this stuff. There's no audit. This, again, is within that NIH that these wackos on the far left in the media are so desperately trying to defend. So as you see, what's really happening here, they're drawing attention to Trump and to Musk and Doge because they're digging into the NIH, because they're auditing them. The NIH doesn't want to be audited. Fauci doesn't want them to audit that. Can you imagine all the things they will uncover? I'm not even talking about the waste, fraud, and abuse with the money. I'm talking about how the NIH helped lie to the people and cover information up all during COVID so that the American people, at least a lot of them, I think many of us know who we are, who didn't fall for it, but a lot of people fell for it, and rightfully so. When you're an old person, elderly, and they tell you that you are susceptible to die of this fast-spreading, horribly deadly disease, well, I mean, you're thinking, I'm not ready to die. So you listen to them. You pay very close attention. And let's face it, we all paid attention at the beginning of it because we all knew it was new. But whenever we started hearing the lies, a lot of us were like, wait a minute. Nah, I'm not buying it. These people, I think, are more fearful with what's going to be uncovered that has nothing to do with money. It's not like they only will find money-related stuff. When Doge and them get in there, and Elon Musk and all those guys, and let's face it, the Trump administration, and start uncovering a lot of this classified stuff that happened during COVID, I think people are going to prison. Or they should, but I hope they go to prison. And I think that's what these people are trying to protect. And let's not forget, there's a lot of people who probably made a lot of money covering for these same people who were covering up all these lies within the NIH. But I want to bring it back on a positive note. I hope DJ and his dad do really well. I prayed so hard for DJ last night and his father and the rest of his family because this young man touched my heart. He really did. And look, I have to admit, I've become a skeptic, rightfully so in many cases, but I've become very, very cynical because I've seen so many people who are portrayed as good people who it's almost always it comes out that they're liars, scam artists, con artists, in it for themselves, in it for their own little communist agenda. So I'll admit, I am a very staunch skeptic and cynic as it comes to viewing the outside world as it revolves around me. And I try to keep my circle pretty tight because I don't want any infiltration from those scumbags. But it does take special moments like what happened last night for DJ and his dad's efforts, and let's face it, Trump's efforts to recognize this young man, to pierce that barrier that I've put up of cynicism out there. And I'm glad that I was able to look at that last night because it was a special moment for me. My son was in a chair next to me. You guys know I have a special needs son, so he was sitting in the chair next to me the whole time. And it gave me an opportunity to see the joy on DJ's dad's face, certainly the joy on DJ's face, and bring that back to a special moment that family members ought to embrace a little bit more often when we get the chance to. If you get the chance to embrace a special moment like that with your own family, whether it's a child, a sibling, or your spouse, or a special person, do that today. Look at this video and realize that there is still a lot of good in this world that I think that a lot of us can build from.
Somos gente honrada y was America. Peace out,